What's up, everybody? Welcome back. All right. So I fell down a grave or some shit like that, so that's pretty cool. Very scary. Ooh, because, we're playing a horror game and shit. So, yeah. I'll be the first one to admit I'm a gigantic pussy when it comes to fucking playing horror games and shit, so, yeah. Oh, it's a lamp. Very nice. Probably a kerosene lamp or something. The question is, why the fuck is it still lit? It's the real goddamn question. Although, actually, it's kind of a funny story. So I have a funny story about lamps like this. So there was a time in my life growing up when my family was relatively, poorish. Or I should say my mom was. Because when my mom and dad split, my mom was kind of screwed over by that whole deal, honestly. Because at the time she was working as a secretary in a fucking hospital or some shit. Right? And the house that I grew up in was a pretty big house. It was a 2-story house with a big yard, too. Very big yard. Very nice piece of property, honestly. So when my dad split, though, because obviously he was the main breadwinner, so to speak, but he and my mom split, my dad bought a house actually pretty close to where my mom lives, which is actually the house that I'm in now. Basically, the reason why I ended up living at my dad's house is because he was like, hey, you want a free ride? I'll pay all the bills and shit. You don't have to pay any rent or anything. And I'm like, yeah, sign my ass up for that shit. And my mom was going to start charging me for rent, which, don't get me wrong, totally 110% justifiable. Absolutely, 100%. But my dad was offering me a free ride, so I'm like, I'd be kind of stupid to pass up on that, right? And I've kept, obviously I've kept good relations with my dad throughout the years and shit. My sister can't say the same, though, but in the future, I'm definitely going to reap the benefits of that. Turns out, keeping good relations with people and, my dad has done some things in his life that I definitely would disagree with, beyond a doubt, but still, it's his life, it's his choices to make and shit, and yeah, I mean, honestly, the two things that matter most in life that I've found is treating people with respect and working hard. Those are the two things that make the biggest difference. Don't be a dick and fucking work hard. It's basically how it is. So anyway, sorry, back to my funny story about these lamps. I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But funny story about these lamps. So, back when, my dad and mom separated for about, a year, or about, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, things were very rough. When my mom and dad divorced, my mom got custody of us, basically. My dad had, again, that whole visitation rights thing, or whatever. So, I went through all that bullshit as a kid and whatnot, and it created for some rough circumstances here or there, but generally, it was just kind of like a whatever type deal. There were actually times in my childhood when it turned out to be quite one hell of a benefit, actually, weirdly enough. But yeah, my mom kind of ended up getting the short end of the stick, obviously. She was going through nursing school at the time and whatnot, so that way she could get a better paying job and actually be able to afford to live at that huge house. And so when my dad split, they basically, the courts or whatever, I don't know how that shit all works, but the courts basically said that my mom could keep the house because my dad allowed it or whatever. But the problem for my mom is that, a property like that, a property that's as nice as that, is expensive as fuck for, taxes and shit every month, especially living here in Illinois, the land of hey, let's fucking tax the shit out of our citizenry because we're a bunch of dipshits who can't fucking balance a budget worth of fucking fuck, which is why we have the worst fucking credit union in the United goddamn States of motherfucking America. Fucking stupid ass motherfuckers. Yeah, the politicians here are fucking retards. The only people who are dumber here than the politicians are the people who keep voting for the fucking Democrat politicians that keep fucking ruining this fucking state. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, so my mom was basically screwed, right? So the only way she could afford to live there, basically, and she also got kind of lucky too because she had another property that she could sell off because her and my dad had bought another separate house somewhere else, actually, believe it or not, which actually would have been a pretty cool house had they been able to actually hang on to it and fix it up, but since they got divorced, they weren't able to. So they ended up selling that off, which honestly was one of the main reasons why my mom was able to keep the house that she, that me and my siblings grew up in, and she's still living in that house to this day. Yeah, I mean, for all my mom's faults, I will grant her this. She is one tough lady. I will say, like, holy shit. The fact that she managed to pull through the hard times like that was nothing short of incredible, in my opinion. Beyond a doubt. I mean, again, I've had my disagreements with my mom throughout the years. No fucking doubt. She's done some really dumb shit, in my opinion. Like, for example, when she basically, like, kicked me out of the house, or whatever, because she was convinced that I'm just some lazy bum who sits around doing fucking nothing all day, which, again, was total horseshit. Like, what, you think the lawn over there just fucking mowed itself? Okay, whatever. But apparently I didn't do enough around the house, and I was just a lazy piece of shit, so whatever. I have my disagreements with her and shit. We're on much better terms these days, but don't get me wrong, there's still some things I'd call her out on, no doubt. So she hasn't been perfect throughout the years, in my opinion. Again, that's just my perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I will say, for all her faults and shit, I mean, what she was able to pull off over those couple years, passing nursing school, becoming a nurse, being able to make enough money to actually live there comfortably, I mean, gotta give her some credit for that shit. But anyway, back to the actual... Sorry, I keep getting off on tangents and shit. Back to the actual story of these kerosene lamps, which I'm assuming that's what this is. So, back right around the time my dad split, right? My mom and dad split. Money was tight. Money was very tight. We did some interesting things to survive in those days, like when my mom had us, and me and my siblings, literally go pick berries out in, like, out by, like, the elementary school that I went to. There were these, like, berry trees that grew and shit, and we literally would go out there and pick berries. We did that, like, I think once, maybe twice. I don't really remember all that well because I was pretty young, but yeah, like, once or twice we went out there and, like, actually, like, picked berries and shit, like fucking peasants. But you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do to survive, right? So it was a smart move. It's free food, right? So what? Yeah, it took a little work, but it was free fucking food. So we went out there and picked berries and shit. And we did all kinds of interesting shit, to cut back on costs and shit. And one of those things was that my mom actually had an old kerosene lamp, so we would pretty much always leave the lights off in the house. We would very rarely ever actually use the lights in the house. Like, we would turn them on for certain occasions, but we would always make sure to turn all the lights off in the house so that way we could keep electricity costs down and shit. And one of those things that we did was that my mom had an old kerosene lamp. So whenever we would eat dinner, she would bring out the kerosene lamp, turn the lights off, light the kerosene lamp, and we would eat dinner by the light of the kerosene lamp. So that was something that we would do back in the day to cut back on costs and shit. Because she actually had some leftover kerosene from, like, a long, long time ago and shit. But yeah, we actually had, like, a legit kerosene lamp that we would use to eat dinner by. And we would use that light to eat by in like the winter, when it gets dark out super early and shit. So, yeah. In case anyone was curious, that's my little story about kerosene lamps. Wow, I really went on quite one hell of a tangent there. Anyway, let's continue on here. I don't think I have a map, so yeah, we just got to keep pressing forward. What's this? Dearest brothers and sisters, this High Council of the Quiet Ones invites you to revere in the power from the song of our source. Together we will attain true control. Be assured to bring your offering of flesh and bone, to sacrifice the weakness within, to join us in the ritual of rebirth. Remember your garments of the quiet ones to shield from the weak leeches of the surface. Our beloved silent disciple, Prudence, has volunteered for the position of priestess. This is a high honor for all of us. Her position will be anointed at our next gathering of the brothers and sisters. Yours quietly, Jebediah Williams. Alright. Hope you all enjoyed my dramatic reading of that shit. Ooh. Can I get underneath here or no? No? Alright, that's cool. I'll just go fuck myself then. Oh, I see. These are like caskets and shit. Holy shit, folks! There's another fucking phonograph! Hell yes! I love it.
That's all well and good you saying that, but I don't see why I shall need your assistance.
I like it less than you. I have other jobs need attending, but your father insisted. Make sure she practices. She must be ready. His very words.
Be ready for what?
This here contraption is spinning. So go on with you. Start your
He
singing.
said be ready for what?
Well, how should I fucking know my brother's mind? Fucking hell, lass. Are you bloody well gonna sing or what?
Fine then.
Interesting. Alright. Hopefully I can find a map or something. That'd be pretty fucking sweet, but yeah. Alright, so I guess we're in kind of like a crypt now because I fell down that one dude's grave or some shit, and apparently it led to some kind of crypt, which is very interesting. So, yeah. Alright, well, I know I accomplished pretty much nothing except telling that little story about a lamp, but whatever. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this part here, so folks, stay tuned. We'll see what happens next. Until then, peace out.